It's time for Wrestling for the Culture, where we take a look inside to see what the wrestlers of color have been doing this week. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of Wrestling for the Culture. I'm back. I know it's been about a month since we did Wrestling for the Culture, but nonetheless, we got some things we got to catch up on. But before we get started, make sure you are following the Wrestling Wrealm on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. Simply search Wrestling Wrealm. Make sure you have subscribed right here. Click down below to subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure you turn the bell on for notifications. That way, you never miss a show. And of course, you can subscribe to the podcast where you can get all the latest updates. Ladies and gentlemen, the boss is back. Yes, Sasha Banks made her return. I went into depth talking about this on this past week's episode of Break It Down with Brian H. However, one of the things is we've been tracking the story of Sasha Banks for a while. There's been talks that she's unhappy, that her and Bayley was whining and crying after they lost the tag team titles at WrestleMania 35. There was also talks that she didn't want any more wrestling. Then we saw the Instagram posts. We saw the subliminal messages. We saw when AEW had their show to support I Love Wrestling. All the other tweets. Nonetheless, Sasha Banks, she lived her best life, took a break, and now she is back and better than ever before. We saw the hair changes. We saw she wore on Instagram and Twitter that she did have a black hairstyle. At one point she was blonde, but this week she came out there on Monday Night Raw wearing her signature burgundy wig, and then afterwards she snatched the wig off and she would reveal a blue hairstyle, and she would proceed to not only to beat up on Natalya but also on Becky Lynch. That has to let us know that's what we got next. Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship, and I would not be surprised if Sasha was to take the title from her immediately. That's what I'm calling for, but only time will tell. Let's move on. Ricochet was victorious this past Monday on Raw when he defeated Elias. Ricochet, of course, bouncing back after a disappointing loss to AJ Styles at SummerSlam, but nonetheless, he got it. He dusted himself off, tried again. He was able to defeat Elias this past week. But now moving on to NXT. In the NXT Breakout Tournament, we saw Jordan Myles victorious, winning the tournament. That has to let you know there are big plans for him. You may remember on the Indies, we covered him right here on Wrestling for the Culture throughout the past year. He was once known as ACH, but now Jordan Myles is officially the winner of the Breakout Tournament. Let's move on. Going over to Action Wrestling this past Friday, where AC Mack successfully defended the Action Championship in a win over Slim J. Moving on, Fred Yehi was victorious over Eric Stevens. Now let's move on. We got new tag team champions. That is, let me make sure I got these brothers' name right. I know who they are. I want to make sure I got the title right. Fly Def were victorious, and they became the new Texoma Pro Tag Team Champions. So Fly Def are your new Texoma Tag Team Champions. Got this. Make sure you follow Fly Brother Warren J on Instagram. Now let's move on to Queens of Combat, a royal affair where we saw Faye Jackson victorious this past Thursday over Scarlett Bordeaux. And then in a tag team match, we saw that Zoe Sky and Tasha Steelz were victorious over Savannah Evans and Chris Statlander, and they are officially the new. Make sure I got this right. It was Okay, no, it was a non-title match. All right, my bad. I had, mixed it up. But, shout out to Tasha Steelz and Zoe Sky victorious. And then last but certainly not least, in a triple threat match, Trish Adora defeated Danny Jordan and Gabby Gilbert. So congratulations to her. Now it's time for the Black Wrestling Alliance presents Black Gold. Shout out to my boy over there doing his thing. Making sure you check him out over at Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram. We're going to start with the Big Swole, Ariel Monroe, who became the new Phoenix of Rise champion, defeating Britt Zoe Lucas in Toronto. And she was presented with the championship by a Japanese legend, former WWE Women's Champion Bo Nakano. And then Rio makes history, becoming the first ever British Empire Wrestling Shooting Star champion as she defeated Roxy. And then we move on as Anna Kai is the new Wrestle League Women's Champion. And then we go into the world of unpredictable wrestling as Renee is their new WUW Women's Champion. So making her a two-time champ. And then last but certainly not least, the Spirit of Detroit have become the new Northwest Ohio Wrestling Tag Team Champions, as this is their first championship in the calendar year of 2019. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you are subscribed to the Wrestling Realm on all major platforms. Make sure you are subscribed to us right here on YouTube. We're going to have, I know next week we're probably going to have some King of the Ring results on Wrestling for the Culture. Make sure you are subscribed and you catch Break It Down with Brian H. coming up this week on the Wrestling Realms channels. You know, that's why go in depth about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling. So, folks, until the next time, I'm Brian H. Waters. So long, everybody. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this week's episode of Wrestling for the Culture. For more episodes or more content from the Wrestling Realm Network, hit the subscribe button down low. Make sure you turn on the bell for notifications. Till the next time, too sweet.